Am I the butthole for getting banned from a pub forever? Genuinely wondering, was I in the wrong? Okay, weird way to word it, but yeah. So went out yesterday for a Christmas event at a pub, had a blast with my friends, but I needed the bathroom. The thing is, in this pub there was only 2 urinals for men and there was a long line. I didn't need the bathroom that bad, so I went back onto the dance floor, and like 5 minutes later I went to check the line, still packed, so I leave again and come back for the last time, and I actually get to use the bathroom, but I noticed this bouncer was watching me the whole time, which was kind of weird. I leave the bathroom and he comes up to my face asking, "What were you doing in the toilet?" And I'm like, "Oh, what else would I be doing in a toilet?" He then pulls me back and shouts in my faces saying, "Why are you giving me cheek? When I ask you a question you answer it, don't insult me." And I'm just like, what the hell, and tell the dude to relax, and he's like, "No, you know what, get the frick out, you're banned." And like, yeah, it was only for a day, and I admit I was wrong at this point, but he really pissed me off, so I cussed him out and got a lifetime ban. That's on me, but the way this whole thing started was just weird. Pub/Club 101. Don't be rude/cheeky/smart with bouncers. They're not to be messed with because they deal with drunk idiots all the time. You're the butthole. You're the butthole. Going to and from the bathroom after just a few minutes is sketchy, and his job is to keep an eye out for sketchy behavior. He did his job and checked in on the sketchy behavior by asking what you were doing in there. Instead of answering, you gave him a smart at SS answer. He made it clear you needed to answer him, not insult him. You got defensive, and still didn't answer his question. Which is still sketchy behavior from his POV. He kicked you out and gave you a 1-day ban. He was still doing his job. If you were doing sketchy crap in that bathroom, then being thrown out and the ban would send the message that this pub doesn't tolerate that crap. Then you cussed him out. Lifetime ban is definitely on you. Every time this guy tried to do his job, you escalated things. Am I the butthole for not supporting my ex? Ex broke up with me a decade ago, 3 months before our child was born. Said I wasn't fit to be a father due to an opioid addiction. I'd been in a wreck that caused severe spinal damage/pain and formed a habit that I'll admit took me a lot longer to kick than I'm proud of. She was never in any way supportive on that particular subject, but her leaving me over it was out of the blue. Court said custody would be 50-50, and it has been since. In that decade I've done okay, remarried a wonderful woman who I've had 2 girls with and was promoted into a position with a 7-figure salary. My ex has not done well. She's remarried twice and was broken up with both times. Filed bankruptcy, lives in what I can only describe as a crap hole apartment. I make sure my son is well taken care of, my wife, girls and I spend every moment we're legally entitled to spend with him, and we offer to include him in quite literally everything, which his mother frequently declines when it's on her time. My son and ex both know as well that if he needs anything he can call and ask. I've sent food/clothing/etc. Frequently and several times put them both up in a hotel because their apartment was being fumigated or similar. Both my parents, my ex's parents, my sister and of course my ex feel I should be financially supporting my ex. Their reasoning is that my son stays with her half the time. She's the mother of my son. During those times he's with her they're both living in squalor, and my son gets upset every time he has to go with his mother, who he started saying he hates as of late. When she tells him she won't feed him because it's expensive and to call me because I have money, it's no small wonder. So far as I'm aware she can afford to feed him. She's working 2 jobs, but she'd rather I pay his expenses so she can afford expensive shoes in addition to the minimum payment on her maxed out credit cards. I've tried to get sole custody. The courts made it clear that short of her murdering several people that's not happening. I've held my ground thus far, as I feel I've no responsibility for her and I've no desire to support her using my son against me for her own financial gain, which is exactly what she's doing. My wife says she sees both sides. So, am I the butthole for not financially supporting my ex because it affects my son? Not the butthole. Support your son, not your ex. Save proof of everything she says and does that is neglectful of your children. Text messages, emails, etc. where she is saying anything like that. Hire a good attorney and bring her ass back to court again. You can even report to your son's school if his mother is neglecting or abusing him. They are obligated to report it. You clearly provide for your child and are a good parent. You can prove to the courts that she is unfit if you have sufficient documentation. You need to speak to an attorney. Reddit is not the place for this, but you are not the butthole for not wanting to financially support her. It's only your job to financially support your kid. Not the butthole, but if you're making $1 million+ a year, you must smart enough to figure out how to protect your son. Call CPS or similar if it's truly squalor. Pay for a lawyer, do something besides complaining about it on Reddit. Act. Not the butthole. She wants 50-50, then it is on her to take care of him for her 50. You are not responsible for her. I am sorry you were unable to get full custody. Any way to give your son a card he can use to buy food when it is mom's if she doesn't feed him? Am I the butthole for not letting the surrogate family touch my stomach and feel the baby move? So I, 24 female, am currently 6 months pregnant as a surrogate for a family. Everything has been smooth sailing for the most part throughout this process other than one thing. Even when I was pregnant with my daughter I could not stand people touching my stomach. I don't understand the obsession with people touching pregnant bellies, but it bothers me when people try to do it. Anyways, the family I'm surrogating for has asked multiple times if they can touch my stomach or rub it and feel the baby move and kick. The wife stating that she's always wanted to experience feeling the kicking and moving baby. Now for context, she can fully have children of her own. This surrogacy is a choice they made so as not to interfere with her career by being pregnant. She has a physically demanding job and doesn't want to risk anything happening to the baby or her career. She's a personal trainer. They have been constantly asking me to touch my stomach and I always politely decline as it is uncomfortable for me. Well, while me and wife were at a baby appointment last week, she reached over and rubbed my stomach while talking to the doctor. I kindly asked her to stop touching my stomach and she snapped at me and said I was ruining the experience for her and it's her baby, she should be able to feel her kick. I snapped back and said that it may be her baby but it's my body and that if she really wanted to feel her baby kick she should have gotten pregnant herself. I've gotten calls from her and her husband calling me an ah for yelling at her for binding with her child. My friends and parents are split on whether I'm an ah or not since it is their baby. So Reddit, am I the butthole? Not the butthole. Just because you're carrying the baby doesn't give them a right to touch you without permission. I'm going with not the butthole because you've repeatedly said you're not comfortable with this and she ignored your wishes and touched you after you already told her you don't consent, which is always inappropriate unless you need to for life-saving reasons. If this was that important, she should have included it in the contract. Please tell me you have a contract, but she didn't, right? Not the butthole for not wanting your belly touched. Once it's born, they have all the time in the world to bond. Until that moment, they're not touching the baby, they're touching you. Am I the butthole for telling my mom to stfu about karma? My 30 female mom was cheated on by my dad and the lady my dad cheated with got pregnant and my dad decided to leave my mom for her. Their kid is now 17 male. I'm gonna call him Luke. My mom does not like Luke or my dad or Luke's mom. I'm not close to any of them either. I despise my stepmother and I hated my dad for a long time too, but our relationship has improved. I barely have a relationship with Luke, but that's improving too. One thing my mom believes in is karma. Or at least her definition of it. Ever since the day she found out my dad cheated, she's been telling me about how karma will get him and the other woman back disguised as Luke. Something happened to Luke a couple years ago, my mom called it karma. This was disgusting to me. While I usually just let my mom say whatever because she's been through a lot, I draw the line at her calling my half-brother's trauma karma. Instead of just minding her own business, my mom told everyone and their moms about how this was karma getting them back. We had a massive fight about it and didn't talk for months, but she eventually apologized. I've been spending some time with Luke because my dad said he's been feeling a bit down since he broke up with his girlfriend and I wanted to catch up. My mom doesn't like it but keeps her mouth shut. Anyways, I was staying the night at my mom's house for reasons and was FaceTiming my husband in my room. I told him how Luke's actually a really fun kid to be around and that I'm very glad he's been able to rise above everything that's happened to him. I then said, he's been through a lot. The second I said that I heard a sound outside my door, hung up, then found my mom listening. I asked her WTF she was doing and she immediately said you shouldn't care this much, hate to say it but this is just karma at work. I doubt this is the last struggle he'll have to deal with. Karma's unforgiving like that. I was honestly mostly really disappointed. I ended up yelling though and told her to stfu about her stupid freaking karma and move on. It's been 17 years. She sounds insane. My mom was all like, how could you say that? You know what I've had to deal with. Are you betraying me too? I just rolled my eyes at her and walked into my room. She began to yell at me through the door saying I broke her heart and how I'm being incredibly cruel, etc. She didn't talk to me the next morning and looked as if she cried all night. My older sister says that I should apologize and that I should be kinder, but I don't know. Am I the butthole here? Edit. I'm 30 years old. My dad and mom are both the same age and 50 plus. My dad married his affair partner, who is also 50 plus, and had my brother who is 17 years old. Not the butthole. The level of vitriol your mother has for your stepbrother is alarming. He had nothing to do with your father's decision to cheat, and celebrating his misfortunes as karma is not acceptable. Not the butthole. If anything, wouldn't the karma be against your dad and stepmom who cheated? What did Luke do other than be born? I'm sure you're sorry for your mother, and it's your dad's fault for cheating, but maybe you should urge her to get therapy or something. Am I the butthole for telling my boss I wouldn't be coming in on my day off? I 16 female, work almost every day and my job mentally wears me down and I think I'm getting burnout. My efforts at work are never appreciated by my new manager and he always threatens to write me up for any minor mistake none of the other managers can see. I plan to go see my sisters tomorrow and we had this planned for a week since I'm off on Mondays, and yesterday my manager called and asked if I could come in tomorrow, and I told them that I had already made plans to visit family, and he got all pissed off and told me to stop making plans for my days off since he might need me to work those days. He's been aggressive ever since I told him I couldn't come in, and I'm feeling like him in butthole for not changing my plans. He got all pissed off and told me to stop making plans for my days off since he might need me to work those days. No. Absolutely not. If there's no one higher than this manager you can appeal to or address this concern with, quit. This is not the work environment for you. Not the butthole. Not the butthole. In no working environment is it healthy to have a manager or boss like that. Not the butthole, and it's time to start looking for another job. Don't bother calling HR because they're there to protect the company, not you. Am I the butthole for taking my skincare products out of bathroom? Am I the butthole for taking my skincare products out of the bathroom? Sorry for any mistakes, English is not my first language. I, female, 16, have been getting into skincare a lot in the last 3 months. At first it was just for my face, but recently I've finally found some products for the rest of my body that I've seen on TikTok, but I couldn't find them where I live. So I bought them even though they were a little bit expensive. The things is that I put the products in the bathroom, so I didn't have to carry them every day cause I would totally forget, which I share with the rest of the people in the house, dad, stepmom and stepsister. I didn't think anything of it until I started noticing that my products were not where I left them. I like to keep my shelf organized, or they wouldn't be properly closed. At first I thought I most have left them like that by mistake, but then I definitely started noting less and less product, so I decided to just take them back to my room. Well, my stepmom most have told my dad something because my dad pulled me aside and asked me why I took my things from the bathroom. I was honest and I told him someone was using my products and that I was pissed because they've been taking more product than necessary. He told me that while he understands it makes me look stingy and envious. I feel bad now, so I'm wondering if I should just put them back. So am I the butthole? Update, turns out it wasn't my stepmom but my stepsister. After my dad told my stepmom what I said, my stepmom asked her daughter if she'd been using them and she said yes. My stepmom apologized to me and offered to give me money, but I told her to use it to buy her daughter her own products so she doesn't have to use mine. My stepsister also apologized to me and told me she didn't think I would mind. I told her I wouldn't have mind if she used some of it, but she had been using WIBTA too much. This is her kind of products that even a little bit created a lot of foam. Just to clear a few things up. My stepmom is not a bad person or anything like that, I actually love her a lot. She just notices that my shelf was empty. My dad didn't tell me to share, and he did warn stepmom and stepsister to not touch my shelf. We all have a bathroom shelf for our things. Anything like this has never happened before. Like I've said, we all get along pretty well. Yes, I paid for them. Also, stingy and envious were bad words to use. Like I said, English is not my first language and I just didn't know how to say the word that my dad said to me, but basically he just said that it makes me look stuck up and seem like I didn't want them to even be near my products. I just made this post because like I said, this never has happened before and I feel bad for not sharing. Not the butthole. Stepmom can buy her own product. Not the butthole. You paid for the products with your own money. And, whoever's been using your products clearly doesn't want you to know about it, since they didn't ask permission before using your things. It's not selfish or stingy to not want others to use your things without telling you, regardless of how much they cost. If they want to use your products so badly, they should buy their own. Not the butthole. Don't put them back. It looks worse, but you have a reason for it. Keep those in your bag in your room. However, what I would do is I would buy some cheapest things to my shelf in bathroom. Once a while I'd use them so you know, but they would be there mostly for the aesthetic reason. P.S. I'd do just that and wouldn't make much more drama of it. Wouldn't confront stepfamily. Be above it. If they confront you, you're in right, so. They have nothing to confront you with actually. Am I the butthole for tricking my father into thinking I'm pregnant? So for context. I'm a recovering alcoholic and I am child-free. Weeks ago, my family decided to celebrate my father's birthday at a restaurant. I'm trying to stay sober, but I hadn't told my family yet in fear of relapsing and just looking stupid, so I just ordered lemonade and water for a drink. Apparently, I guess my mom took it as a sign that I'm hiding something important, i.e. pregnancy, so she asked me along the lines of, "Is there something you need to tell us / hiding something?" My father looked so genuinely excited because he's the type of person to really want grandkids to spoil and such. I felt so bad. He asked me if I was pregnant and if he was finally going to be a granddad. When I said no, he just looked so disappointed, and asked me if I wasn't pregnant, why wasn't I drinking, etc. etc. My mom also kinda piled on and eventually just left because I got overwhelmed. Apparently now, my mom is asking me to apologize to my father because I broke his heart and I tricked him to believing I had finally changed my mind. I know my father is really insecure about having no grandchildren and also wants to pass down the family name and such. I'm also an only child, so unless they have another kid or adopt, no grandkids for my parents. I feel bad because I think he would genuinely make a good granddad, but I just don't want kids. Am I the butthole? Hey, you're doing great, I'm happy you choose recovery. Wishing you all the best. Less than 3. To topic, not the butthole. It's their expectations believing you only can be pregnant when refusing to drink. You answered honestly. Case solved. How is this tricking him? Good luck in your journey, not the butthole. Not the butthole. If they thought you were pregnant because you didn't drink one evening, quitting drinking, having some important compromise next day, nursing a stomach ache, having to drive, but no, they chose to jump to the pregnancy thing, it's on them. They made it up, they got upset. Am I the butthole for telling my mill to leave our home? I, 40 female, and husband, 42 male, have my mill, 65, over for the holidays. We have been married almost 20 years and for the most part I have a good relationship with her. However, I've never had her stay with us as long as she has, which has been since Thanksgiving, and she's planning to leave the day after Christmas. The first couple weeks were okay, but honestly I'm just sick of her being here at this point. She dominates every day with some nonsense. Let's go shopping, go to dinner, go to see Christmas lights. We've accommodated her as much as possible, but we both work full time so are very tired at the end of the day. I specifically asked that this weekend we stay in, order takeout, and watch Christmas movies, which she loves. She was super excited about it, but she told us a couple hours ago she has signed us up to go caroling tomorrow night. I had it and told her she is more than welcome to go, but I wouldn't be attending. She looked at my husband for support and he said he wasn't interested either. Here are where things went very wrong. She told me since we decided to never have children we don't understand the importance of the holidays and how her son would have been a wonderful husband if I wasn't so selfish. Neither of us have ever wanted children. I got so angry I told her that if she couldn't respect us and our decisions she can get the first flight out tomorrow. She started to cry and went to pack. Then threw a major fit. I didn't immediately ask her to stay. My husband says I could have just let it go until after Christmas and maybe I should have. Any sane person doesn't push extra activities on people after working hours, then schedule plans without asking. She was rude and inconsiderate. She's lucky you didn't tell her to stay away until 2025. Not the butthole at all. You need to have a serious conversation with your husband though. It's unacceptable that he is protecting his mother when she is bullying you both in this way. Oh damn, she crossed a line. You guys not having or wanting children is completely irrelevant. Absolutely not the butthole. Not the butthole. She wanted you to say, wait please don't go. After being rude and disrespectful to you, then agree to go caroling. Am I the butthole for leaving my wife alone on Christmas to spend it with my family? My, 30 male, mom passed away about 4 months ago. I live in a different state, not drivable, and my wife and I spent almost a month in the state I grew up in around her death. As you can expect, we spent a lot of time with family during that month. My mom had been sick for a while, so it was surprising it happened so soon, but it was not unexpected. My wife and I don't have kids and have been married a bit over a year. Since we moved in together over 5 years ago, we haven't spent a Christmas apart and I've always been with my family for Christmas. Mostly, this is due to the fact that I have a strong relationship with my family, and she doesn't. I really like spending Christmas with my family, and she doesn't really want to go to her family's, where it's cold and farther away. That's not to say that she wants to spend it with my family though. This year, we hadn't decided on our Christmas plans. Initially, we thought to spend it just the two of us where we live, maybe doing a weekend trip. This was her idea and preference, as I wanted to be with my family, or at least her family over the holidays. For me, Christmas is a time to be with family. However, the closer it gets to Christmas, the more I want to be with my family. My dad has said he'd really appreciate us being there, as it'd help my family continue to heal. My wife is opposed to going. She has developed flight anxiety and questions how much a few days in the holidays will let us heal. Also, she said we spent a lot of time there this year and I've always spent Christmas with them. Last week, we had an argument about this as I expressed my desire to spend Christmas with my family. A few days after the argument, I said I was okay to stay where we live and do a small trip with just my wife. She said I could make my decision if I really wanted to go, or I think she said something to that effect. Today, we talked again about it, and I said I'd prefer to spend it with my family. I know how hard this Christmas will be for my dad, as the holidays were always a festive, important time for my family. My wife got upset and said she now knows that I think it's more important for my dad to have all 4 of his kids home for the holidays than 3/4. I feel stuck between a rock and a hard place. I don't want to leave my wife on Christmas, but I know this Christmas will be the hardest Christmas for my dad and want to be there when he needs it most. I wish my wife would just suck it up for one more year and spend a few days with my family, but that doesn't seem feasible. Am I the butthole for choosing my family over my wife? No buttholes here. You have to also remember that you have a family with your wife. You and your wife are a family unit. If she doesn't want to fly, is there a way to take extra time off to drive? Slight, you're the butthole. You keep saying my family. Like, a lot. For this year, for the fact that it seems like for 5 years, she has wanted to try something different for Christmas, and you've done it your way. You basically have forced her, and she had planned for a smaller Christmas. Now, your mom passed away, and it is a perfectly valid reason to change plans. But she doesn't trust you that next year it won't be the same. So I'd say you are the because you're 5 years controlling Christmas. Am I the butthole for not compromising with my soon-to-be mom-in-law? My 26 female, fiancé, 28 male, and I finally decided on renting an apartment together and have signed a 1-year lease. We were both looking forward to this, and we've already started looking for furniture and appliances to put in our bare apartment. On my end, this will be the first time I'll live independently, and I'm super excited to set up our apartment as our home. Just a few days after the lease contract was signed, we were informed by his mom, 59 female, that my fiancé will have to stay at their home for 3 months and I'll have to be alone in the apartment. His sister's, 32 female, husband will be on a business trip, and his mom decided that she stay with his sister in her home. My fiancé will be accompanying his dad, 61 male, in their home. While I'm all up for compromise, I feel like I was excluded in his mom's decision, and frankly, kinda taken advantage of. Why do I have to be alone in our new, unfurnished apartment, so that his sister will have someone with her? Her home is in a gated subdivision and is just a 10-minute drive to work. Meanwhile, this will be my first time in this neighborhood and will likely need to adjust. Fiancé proposed the following alternatives to his mom, but there seems to be no budging. 1. Both his parents stay at his sister's home. 2. I stay with fiancé at their home, and the apartment will be empty for 3 months. 3. Fiancé visits me every weekend in the apartment. Fiancé mentioned I just give in to avoid conflict. However, I've made up my mind to stand my ground because I also don't want this to be a precedent to what will happen once we're married. Not the butthole, but why can't Phil live by himself? More importantly, why would you want to move in with a 28-year-old man who has to get permission to move out of his mommy's house? Not the butthole, and if you give in now, you will be giving in for your entire marriage. WTF, does Sil need Mill to stay with her? And your options are fine. I would put off marriage if he does not stick up for you. Not the butthole. Your future Mill is trying to establish that she controls her children regardless of their ages. Since when can't a 32-year-old woman stay alone in her home, or is there something about the 61-year-old father that means he can't stay alone? Why does she get to dictate where everyone stays? And if she's so concerned about a 32-year-old woman staying alone, how does she explain her solution that demands a 26-year-old woman stay alone? You need to talk to your fiancé. He needs to decide things for himself and not for his mother's convenience. If he sees no problem abandoning you for no real reason, I'd rethink moving in with him and marriage at all. Not the butthole, why are you the only one who can stay alone? Would I be the butthole for changing my streaming passwords on my roommate/tenant that's leaving? I'm spending nearly $100 a month on the ads-free Hulu Plus ads-free live TV/Disney Plus/ESPN Plus bundle, along with Netflix and Amazon Prime. Part of that cost was built into my roommate's rent. He's moving out with his girlfriend, no hard feelings. I don't plan on getting a new roommate, and I also would prefer to keep the services. But, I don't really feel it's fair that I pay for his and his girlfriend's equivalent of ad-free cable TV and streaming forever because he lived here for a while. Like, it's one thing to say, hey, I'll pay for Netflix and you for HBO Max and everyone saves money, but another to just pay for their stuff in perpetuity, especially when they have a dual income home, and I won't. My instinct is to change the passwords and cut them off. Am I the butthole? Not the butthole. I don't understand why you even consider this a question. Not the butthole. It was part of his rent and he is moving, end of story. Just tell him that he will no longer get access to the account since he is no longer in the house. Not the butthole. Streaming accounts are part of the household. He's no longer part of the household. Am I the butthole for not going to my parents' wedding before they get divorced again? My friends told me to make a Reddit account just for this because this is so weird and no one knows if I'm in the right. So my 26 female parents, B50, got married when I was 5 and I was the flower girl. Around when I was 10 they got divorced, which no one saw coming because they never fought. I feel like I have to mention my parents are both very wealthy and kept finances separate, and so it was an easy divorce and obviously they could pay for it. When I was about 17-ish they decided to get back together. Me being 17, was overjoyed and was a bridesmaid at their second wedding. I really hope you see where this is going, but they ended up separating again. They didn't tell anyone and didn't get a divorce, but we all knew they were separated, and 3 years later they wanted to renew their vows, in which I was asked to buy a nice dress for the occasion. Surprise! They got divorced. Again. And only after 3 months after their renewal. After that I sort of just lived my own life because I wasn't exactly thrilled at whatever they were doing and honestly really over it. So a few days ago I got an invite in the mail to my parents' 3/4 wedding after 6 years, and so I called my mom about it. She was super excited and told me I was old enough to be her mo and that she wants me to buy a $1,500 dress. That's a solid no from me. I told her I'd be her mo, but I'm either going to wear the original bridesmaid dress, which is a cream color, or the other nice one I got, which is brown, because I'm not buying a $1,500 dress. She freaked out and told me that those don't match the color scheme, pink and green, and that she knows I can afford it. Which is true. I got an inheritance from my grandfather's passing. However, when my fiancé and I moved in together, he made clear he didn't want me to be paying for most things and he wants to do it 50-50. So we got a small apartment that he could afford to pay his share of, and all of my extra money is in savings/college fund because we want a large family of 5 to 7 kids and they are, well, expensive. So I reminded my mom of that and told her that I also would like to use my money on other things that won't be worn once and I'll have to buy a new one every 3 to 6 years. My mom called me a spoiled brat and that I'm wasting my privilege, I have no words, and that I'm telling her I won't be a part of my own parents' wedding. I told her that I was going to be willing to show up to the wedding and not be the mo, but at this point I'm not showing up at all, and told her to call me when they get their next divorce. I hung up and got a slew of nasty emails from my family throughout the day, and my friends are divided on if I made the right call with the premise that they are my parents. Am I the butthole? Not the butthole. If they're both well off, why can't they just buy the dress for you? It's their NTH wedding and she wants you as the mo, so it makes sense for her to just get the dress for you. Not the butthole 100%. What the frick? Who marries and divorces the same person multiple times? You're completely in the right not wanting to spend that much money for a one-occasion dress when they most likely will divorce again and you're gonna need the money with so many kids planned. Not the butthole. I'm sorry, but once it's the 3rd, 4th time to the same person, it's no longer a special event or moment. That's just a massive display of stupidity. It's totally reasonable that, if they are doing this every 5 years or so, to say that either they really should not be together, or that they really want the attention. Though, to me this situation reads as two people who are not compatible but can't stand not having someone to give them attention. If she lets you go, I recommend a book on divorce as a wedding gift. I think they need it. WIBTA for calling my sister-in-law out on faking allergies? So my sister-in-law has always complained about how I smell. She claims it gives her a headache and makes her nauseous. Recently in a text message she claimed a doctor had told her she was allergic to smells. I'm pretty sure she's making that up. For context, I'm a guy and I use Bath & Body Works shower gel and Dove deodorant. I use unscented clothes detergent to cut down on acne since I'm worried about an allergic reaction there. To be fair, I use Bath & Body Works plugins for scent around the home. I know that can be an issue for people. That's not what this is about. She and my brother do not believe in deodorant, which I find disgusting, both in theory and practice. He backs her up on the smell thing. But then again, he's a fat guy who doesn't believe in deodorant. He thinks his natural pheromones make up for any bad smell he might have. God, I typed that out and I wish I were joking. In the past she said she can smell me when I enter their house even if she's in the back bedroom 100 feet away. In the past 15 years there has not been a single holiday event where she hasn't commented on it. She has constantly complained about it. Here's the kicker. Last year I forgot my toiletry bag. Instead of telling them, I just secretly snuck their soap/shampoo/conditioner. The only thing smelly I had would be my toothpaste, which thankfully I did not forget. The snide comments about my smell giving her a headache did not stop. For the record, I'm a white man with a healthy diet who consistently gets compliments on how good I smell from both friends and strangers. Sounds weird to say, but I don't want anyone assuming it's just a weird smell from an all-curry diet or something. So WIBTA if I use their toiletries again this year for Christmas, but called her out on overreacting over my smell this time? I didn't do it last year because I didn't want to rock the boat. You're the butthole for the xenophobic curry comment. Also, Bath & Body Works smell cheap. No wonder she gets headaches. You're the butthole all curry diet or something like you being white has anything to do with it. Info, when you use their toiletries, did anyone else verify that your clothes don't reek of the chemical perfumes in your house? Because people who live in those smells often don't know how much they cling. Reserving judgment, as a person who is allergic to many chemical scents, until we have more info on whether Sil is actually faking or if OP is unaware of their own situation. You're the butthole. You're fatphobic and xenophobic. Seeing as your post stinks, I believe you're Sil that you stink in general. Am I the butthole for not letting my friend room with us? My friend Abby, 25 female, and I, 25 female, are going to a destination wedding for a mutual friend overseas next year. Abby and I used to travel together when we were in college, but she had some health issues and wasn't able to travel for a while. But she's better now, with some limitations, and excited to start traveling again. Our friend invited us to her destination wedding in Thailand next year, us including my husband and will be, 2-year-old. My husband and I have been to Thailand before, so we are familiar with the culture and getting around. This will Abby's first time in Asia. When Abby found out my husband and I are going to stay for a week and travel around, she wanted to stay with us and join in on our activities. However, my thing is that she loves my baby, but she also gets annoyed easily by him. She would get grossed out by his drool or diaper changes. When the baby cries, it would give her headaches. This would be our first time traveling to Asia with the baby, so we don't really know how he would react to the time difference and all. We would probably have to constantly change our itinerary around his naps and meals. And I can feel that being an issue with her expectations already. I told her no, it's not a good idea since we will have the baby with us, so we should do our own thing instead. She got offended and said she doesn't feel comfortable traveling alone, especially in a new country and with her previous health issues. We were also planning to rent an Airbnb and travel to the wedding resort instead of staying there, so she said it will save her money, $400/night difference, to split the Airbnb with us instead of staying at the resort too. I am feeling super guilty for saying no, but I also don't want to be in the position where I have to divide my attention between her and my kid. Am I the butthole? You're not the butthole. You're going to have enough to deal with, you don't need a high-maintenance third wheel dragging on you. Not the butthole. The last thing I would want to do is have a friend who would complain about my child non-stop stay and travel with me. Am I the butthole for inviting my daughter's ex-boyfriend to her birthday party? My 46 female daughter just turned 17 last week. She loves surprises, so I threw her a surprise party. I called/texted/contacted all her friends and invited them. My daughter has been best friends with Matt, 17 male, since elementary school, and they started dating 2 years ago. Matt is a really sweet boy, and he treats my daughter very well. I called Matt to tell him about the party, and he was a bit confused. He told me that he and my daughter had broken up 2 weeks ago. That was news to me. My daughter was still going out at least twice a week, always telling me she was going out with Matt. She had even told me she was going out with Matt the night before I called Matt. I still have no idea where she's been going, and it's very concerning to me that it must be something bad because she's keeping up the ruse that she's still with Matt. Plus, she's been hanging out with some new people in the last few months. One of them is a person who my daughter used to joke about being a hard drug addict. She doesn't make those jokes anymore, but she used to make them very seriously and frequently. So that concerns me a lot. I didn't say this all to Matt. I apologized for calling him and told him to have a good day. Before I hung up, he asked if he actually could come to the party, as he really wants to talk to my daughter and she's been distant at school. Again, Matt is a really good kid, and he's known my daughter for a long time. If she was really into something dangerous, like drugs or alcohol abuse, which sadly run in my family, talking to him might be able to help her out it. So, I told Matt he could come to the party, but he had to leave if my daughter asked him to leave. Well, the party was last week, and my daughter was surprised by all her guests. But she got really mad when she saw Matt. I saw her having an angry conversation with him, and he left shortly after that. After the party, she told me that she and Matt were broken up, and she couldn't believe he had come. I told her that I had known they were broken up, but I invited him because I thought it might be good for him to talk to her. She was livid. She called me a terrible mother, and she's been cold to me ever since. I understand how I could have hurt her, but I still don't know if I was fully in the wrong in this situation. I love her more than anything, and I really wanted to do what was best for her. I'm sort of lost, so I was hoping you all could give me a judgment so I can understand the situation better. Am I the butthole? You're the butthole. You invited him thinking they were dating. Fine. He told you they were broken up, so you assumed he wasn't coming. Fine. He asked if he could come anyway. Correct response? Let me ask my daughter if she wants you to come. Edit, if it wasn't a surprise party. Since it was, then it should have just ended there. Instead, you snuck it on her, manipulatively. There's a lot of other things floating around this situation that are concerning and stuff, that you aren't wrong about, and should investigate more. But that was what your question was about, so that's the ruling. You're the butthole for inviting him after you knew they'd broken up. You have no idea why they broke up. Maybe he cheated. Maybe he tried to move too fast. Or maybe she just likes someone else. The point is, you didn't know. Am I the butthole for not canceling our annual trip despite my wife's demands? A few years ago, I got sent on a business trip to my dream destination. I took the vacation time I had built up and spent an extra week there after my work obligations finished. I loved every single minute of my trip, including the business aspects. The work environment there was great and I got along well with my colleagues. I've kept in touch with quite a few of them, but one in particular, who we'll call Theo, has become one of my closest friends. He introduced me to his local friends and I was adopted into the group pretty immediately, getting taken out at night for drinks and shown the less touristy parts of the city. My wife joined me on my trip. She said she had a nice time but didn't seem to share my same enthusiasm. Towards the end of our time there, she just began staying back at the hotel while I went out and claiming she was tired. This trip has since turned into a yearly tradition. Sometimes I'm able to pull the post-business trip vacation time trick and stay 2 weeks, others I'm not sent by my company and only get spent a week there. Either way, it's always the highlight of my year. However, my wife seems less and less interested each time. I've asked her why, but she always brushed me off by saying she's excited and that I'm reading into things too much. Our trip this year was supposed to span from the end of December into January, and I was beyond excited to experience the night traditions. Despite only getting the opportunity to visit once a year, I feel like I have real roots placed there. I have close friends. Owners of restaurants I frequent when I'm there recognize me. The boss for the company branch there has told me a job is open for me whenever I finally make the decision to move since he knows it's inevitable. Theo has even sent my apartment photos/listings of places we could get together when his lease is up. It just feels like my future is there. While talking to my wife a few nights ago, our trip came up because our flight is quickly approaching. I expressed some of the things I listed above and said it feels like a home away from home to me. What followed was my wife basically demanding that we cancel the trip. I didn't even go into much detail and played off what the boss said as mostly a joke, but she still said she couldn't believe I was ever thinking of moving so far away. I told her that didn't change our visit, but she still wouldn't budge. I refused. The only time we've talked since then has been her asking if I've canceled our bookings yet, and me saying no. I've told her I can cancel hers and not mine, but she said me going alone is even worse. Am I the butthole? If you're married, why are you looking at apartments to share with some other guy? You're the butthole. The highlight of my year. Moving there is inevitable. Theo has even sent my apartment photos/listings of places we could get together when his lease is up. It just feels like my future is there. Your poor wife. She is being emotionally cheated on and she knows it. Am I the butthole for refusing to pay my ex back? So my 25 female, extremely recent ex, 27 male, had tested positive for chlamydia. We had been together for 4 years. I was also tested multiple times during our first year of dating because I had been to Planned Parenthood for birth control and a pap smear a bunch of times and they test every visit. So I know I was negative a year after we started dating, so, yeah. It's obviously from infidelity. Anyway, I called Planned Parenthood to see if I could get tested ASAP and they said my insurance was no longer supported so it'd have to be out of pocket. I called an urgent care that was in network and they recommended I just go to Planned Parenthood because testing is a lot faster. When I told my ex that it'd be an out-of-pocket expense, well more like a well great now I have to pay for this out-of-pocket so thanks, he gave me his credit card to pay for the visit. Well, I got tested and the doctor said it'd be about 5 days until my results come back, which was the same estimate the urgent care had given me. She gave me the treatment anyway and told me to take it even if I test negative. So if I had gone to urgent care instead, the cost would have been much less and I probably would have been told the exact same thing. I told my ex this and he's saying it's unfair that he'll have to pay the interest for this on his credit card and I should have gone to the place in network. I said boo-hoo. I personally find it more unfair that I have to go through all this when I thought I was being responsible. I do feel bad though because I did choose to go to a place out of network when I could have just gone in network. And we were just talking about our finances and going over our plan to tackle out debt so we can buy a condo, obviously not happening now. Despite everything, I feel so bad knowing he wants to get himself in a better place financially. I don't know, my emotions are all over the place right now. F that cheater. It's the least he owes you, especially if you're a positive. Frick him in the expense. It's a small price to pay for infidelity. Not the butthole. Hard not the butthole. Frick this guy, you don't owe him a penny. He endangered your life and put your reproductive health at risk. Your ex was very unlikely to ever experience the long-term sequelae of chlamydia, but it can cause pelvic inflammatory disease, PID, in individuals with female reproductive systems. It can lead to infertility, ectopic pregnancies, chronic pelvic pain, and abscess formation. It can be quite devastating for the uterus haver while the penis haver gets away with fewer consequences. It may be hard right now, but I promise that you will be better off without someone like this in your life. I'm not sure where you live in real life, but I would suggest considering therapy to help you process the emotions of this experience. This guy is a bug beneath my boot. Chlamydia isn't a cold, it's not the kind of disease you get from walking past someone on the street. I say not the butthole, he played stupid games and as a result this is the consequences. Bright side is at least it's curable and he didn't give you something worse. Block him and move on, but keep all documentation from the clinic in case he does try to take it to court. At least he's now an ex, so you can move on with your life. Am I the butthole if I refuse to car share on a journey I'm doing anyway? Context. My commute to work is about 15 miles. A lad I work with cannot drive and lives a block away from me. He gets a lift from his dad most days. His dad sometimes has other commitments, and so he pencils me in for a lift into work. This can be a little grating. Me and my partner have our pup in doggy daycare, and it means shifting the drop-off/pickup responsibilities or driving back to where I have just come from. This week I was penciled in and let him down last minute. Due to a family emergency. I let him know as soon as I knew. We work slightly different hours, and from an email thread I saw a message to say how inconvenient I made life letting him down. Especially knowing he had to take his son to school. He hasn't spoke to me since. He isn't very sociable, but we usually have a few interactions a day. However, he didn't reply to my message letting him know I wouldn't be there. Never offered a penny towards the diesel. I wouldn't accept, but just a thought towards fuel prices would be nice. Doesn't say thank you. He just leaves with "see you in the morning, mate." When he next wants a ride to work. Am I the butthole for saying no? After all, I'm already going that way. Not the butthole, not your problem. You don't owe unsociable people with poor manners a free taxi service because you happen to live near them. Plus it's inconvenient to you. The way you describe the obligation you feel is as if he's the son of your boss or something. Not the butthole, tell him to make alternate arrangements for fear of letting him down again. Or make it clear to him that you can't be bothered. Not the butthole. If you do choose to give him a ride, tell him what time you plan on going. He can accommodate your schedule or figure something else out. If he has to leave earlier because you're taking your dog to care along the way, that's on him. Am I the butthole because I'm refusing to share a bed with my filthy sister? Throwaway account. My parents rented a small house in a beach city for 2 weeks. The house has 2 rooms, 1 bathroom, and 1 kitchen/living room. When we arrived, my parents told us that I, 14 female, would sleep in the second room with my sister, 19 female, while my brother, 15 male, and my uncle, 46 male, would stay on 2 couches in the living room. My sister showers every 4 days and doesn't mind farting when people are around her. So I don't want to share a bed with her. Both rooms have double beds. I asked my brother to switch places with me, but he also didn't want to sleep by her side. Thus, we decided to share the room and told my sister to sleep on the sofa. We have 4 nights left here, not counting tonight. Whenever my uncle is not around, my sister complains endlessly about sharing the living room with my uncle. He smells like tobacco and farts at night, just like her, but at least he's 2 meters away on another couch. My mother got fed up with my sister, and now she's pressuring us to follow the first arrangement. Not the butthole. Why is your mom forcing you to share a bed with her, but not forcing her to shower? Farting in your sleep isn't controllable, but showering is, assuming there's not a socioeconomic factor prohibiting regular bathing. Not the butthole. Am I the butthole for refusing to put up the Christmas tree with my BF and his family? So for reference, my BF, 27 male, and I, 20 female, live in my home. Recently his sister, 25 female, and her 2 toddlers have also moved in with us. It's been really rough and our relationship has been on the rocks for a while. Today he made the comment, "Guess who is going to be putting up the tree today?" I asked who. He said, "Obviously you, since it's your house." I didn't agree, and honestly it kind of annoyed me, but I just laughed it off. For past knowledge, I bought my home when I was 18, about 8 months before I met him. He likes to use this against me and says it's my house, I should do everything to take care of it, such as chores, etc. It's always bothered me so much. Later in the evening we were all sitting in the living room and he looked at me and said, "Hey, you should go get the Christmas tree and decorations from the shed." I didn't realize he was serious until he said it was my house and my tree. I'd also like to add we have been in the middle of a blizzard for the past week and temperatures are below freezing and windy. I just said, "Okay, meet you out there." I got all bundled up and went out to the shed. And guess who never came out? I ended up having to take the tree in first. They both watched me bring them in and then just looked away and kept watching TV. Then I made another trip and brought in all the decorations. This time when I came in he said, "Well, you forgot part, so you need to go back." I got frustrated and started looking for a flashlight because now it's pitch black outside and my phone died. My BF yelled from the couch at me and said, "If you're gonna keep acting that miserable, we're not gonna do this." I just looked over and said, "You have your GF going outside in a blizzard getting Christmas decorations for your family and you're not helping. It's freezing and slick outside." His sister just watched, and he got upset and walked away. I ended up going back out there to look for the missing piece. I spent about 15 minutes looking for it and didn't find it, so I went back inside. They had already started while I was out there. I looked at my phone once I got to the charger and he texted me that I didn't miss a piece. Now I'm in the room while they are putting up and decorating the tree and he is upset with me for not helping. I also want to add I have several chronic pain disorders and nerve issues. My body doesn't do good in the cold at all and I'm sore for days after. I know Christmas is important to his family and I feel guilty for missing out. But he made me so upset. Little update, I woke up this morning and came out to find out they didn't even out it up. He literally brought them all back out in the shed and is now blaming me his family won't have a tree. Not the butthole, why are you with someone who is treating you like this? I understand chronic pain and him to act like this is crazy, especially if he knows. He should have helped even if you didn't have the pain. You need to stand up for yourself though and be firm and an advocate for yourself or this will not get any better. He is already showing you how he will treat you and his family is following suit. Holy crap, no, not the butthole. Get out, get out, get out. Of this relationship. They can get out of your house. I can't even imagine being the sister and being present for this whole thing while I sat on my ass. Let alone this your house so you do it bullcrap. Does anyone financially contribute? Physically contribute? They need to get out. Get out. Not the butthole. I know many people's response on this forum is break up. But, girl. If he is living with you and contributes in no way to the management, yard work, chores, cooking, of the house now, it's not going to get better. If you truly want to attempt to salvage the relationship, go to therapy. If he has no interest in therapy or saving the relationship, then get him out. He's abusing the relationship for a living situation. Imagine what he'd be like if y'all got married and your belongings were legally attached to each other. If he becomes worse than he is now, I would hope you loved yourself enough to leave the relationship. Unless you got a prenup, most divorces would be 50-50. Even though it would be a far distant possibility, your house may no longer be yours. The law's weird. Don't take risks, honey. If you love him, give him a chance. If not, he's obviously failing to contribute to the relationship. You're giving way more than he ever was to the two of you.